The stars were quiet when we arrived. Not quiet in the way living beings understand silence, but quiet in the way ancient gravity wells breathe when nothing dares disturb them. We are the observers. Our civilization was born before the third generation of spiral galaxies learned their own shapes. Our archives remember mountains growing older than suns. Time is our language. Curiosity is our disease. And fear is something we learned late. We came because the blue planet was unusual. From orbit, it looked fragile, a sphere wrapped in breathing light, rotating slowly like a sleeping child, protecting something dangerous inside its dreams. The species living there called it Earth. We called it a controlled paradox. The first contact was not made. We chose observation. Diplomacy is unnecessary when studying evolutionary momentum. Humanity did not know we were there. Their cities burned light across night continents, like fragmented constellations trapped inside planetary gravity. Their machines moved with restless energy, never fully silent, always breathing technological heat into the atmosphere. But what disturbed us was not human civilization. It was human childhood. We watched young humans play near environments that should have killed them. They fell from heights, laughed after bleeding, and stood again. Pain did not terminate their curiosity, it fed it. Our biological historians recorded uncertainty. Most species evolve fear before intelligence. Humans seem to evolve intelligence inside fear. Their war archives were studied carefully. Human conflict was not simple territorial aggression. It was memory-driven warfare. When humans lost battles, they did not disappear. They rebuilt. They learned the shape of defeat, like cartographers mapping dark continents inside collective consciousness. Their weapons were not the most terrifying aspect. The terrifying truth was how quickly humans replaced broken cities. Ash became foundation. Ruins became architecture. Children played near construction zones where their ancestors had died. The organism called humanity behaved as if extinction were not a final state, but a temporary obstacle. Other species fear death because death ends identity. Humans were different. Humans treated extinction as if it were a rival waiting to be challenged. We detected this pattern in military philosophy archives, in civilian cultural transmissions, and in something more disturbing: human laughter during survival stress. Our oldest observer recorded the conclusion in the Universal Report. Humanity treats extinction not as destiny, but as a problem that has not yet been solved. Below us, the blue planet continued breathing, and somewhere inside it, children were learning how to survive by playing games that simulated danger.
We did not yet understand why survival and joy were intertwined inside the human species. But our archives began marking Earth with the symbol reserved for unstable civilizations that should never be provoked. Because humanity did not fight only to live. Humanity fought because it remembered every time it almost died. And civilizations that remember extinction too clearly tend to become impossible to erase. Our ships remained hidden behind lunar shadow resonance fields. We continued watching, waiting, studying, afraid. Not of what humans were, but of what humans might become if survival ever decided to grow angry. And as we recorded atmospheric biosignature fluctuations, one more realization settled inside our collective consciousness. The species below did not evolve away from destruction. They evolved destruction into something that could carry hope. And that was when our civilization first understood a terrifying possibility. If humanity ever decides that living is more important than victory, the galaxy will not have an answer. The report was sealed. Observation continued. Because somewhere beneath the planetary clouds, human children were still laughing beside the shadow of extinction itself. And the observers felt for the first time in millions of cycles that the void was watching them back. The next record would describe how human civilization reacts when pressure shapes its young warriors. We marked the file and waited for the story of humanity's training to begin. We believed war was a disease. Among the elder species of the galactic archives, war is studied like a cosmic accident, an evolutionary mistake that intelligent civilizations eventually outgrow. Humanity does not follow this rule. From orbit, Earth appears peaceful only when viewed from distance. Closer observation reveals something deeply unsettling. The planet breathes war. Not in the violent, explosive sense, but in the way civilizations rise inside conflict, like organisms learning to survive inside storms. Human history is layered like geological sediment. Beneath every shining city lies another city that once burned quietly into dust. Human knowledge is carved into stone, pressed into paper, encoded in electromagnetic memory, and carried forward by survivors who refuse to forget. We observed that destruction did not erase human civilization. It sharpened it. War, for humans, is not the destination of evolution. It is their classroom. Our xenobiology scholars proposed a hypothesis that was later marked as emotionally disturbing. Human technology accelerates when extinction risk increases. When humans feel cornered by existential pressure, their minds behave like a networked organism across planetary distance. Inventors appear simultaneously in different regions. Scientific breakthroughs emerge like synchronized lightning inside cultural storm clouds. It is as if humanity does not contain intelligence inside individuals alone. It spreads intelligence across fear.
We studied human soldiers. They were not warriors in the traditional biological sense. They were students wearing the uniforms of survival. Human children are exposed to stories of sacrifice before they learn planetary astronomy. They are taught loyalty as if it were mathematics, addition of trust, subtraction of betrayal, multiplication of endurance. We found human music archives particularly troubling. Many species create music for mating rituals or territorial display. Humans sing about suffering. They transform pain into structured beauty. Their melodies carry grief inside rhythm. Even when their civilizations collapse under war, human music continues existing inside ruins. The transmissions recorded from destroyed human cities often contained songs. People singing while hiding. People singing while waiting for rescue. People singing beside dying companions. No other species converts collective suffering into emotional architecture the way humans do. Another anomaly appeared in combat psychology records. Humans laugh when fear peaks. This behavior was statistically impossible according to our evolutionary models. Fear should suppress vocal expression. Instead, humans release nervous tension through laughter. It confuses predators, and perhaps unintentionally, it confuses death itself. We analyzed battlefield communication patterns. When human soldiers comfort dying comrades, they do not speak about scientific certainty of survival. They speak about home, even if home has been destroyed. They speak about fields that no longer exist, about oceans that may have evaporated under war, about families who may never hear their voices again. The meaning of these words is not informational, it is emotional continuity. Humanity does not allow identity to end quietly. Our historians recorded a disturbing cultural trend. After every major war, humans plant forests. Cities are rebuilt where destruction once burned. Children are taught that survival is not victory. Peace that survives fear is victory. During observation of human military academies, we discovered something more terrifying. Human cadets are trained to protect each other before learning advanced combat efficiency. In simulated death scenarios, human trainees often sacrifice optimal mission success if another trainee is endangered. From logical perspective, this behavior is inefficient. From evolutionary perspective, it is catastrophic. From civilization stability perspective, it is unstoppable. Our highest council archivist added a warning note. Because such species do not surrender when individually defeated, they continue fighting through collective will. As our observation continued, we reached the closing conclusion of this chapter. Humanity does not evolve away from war. Instead, humanity evolves war itself. They reshape violence into something that carries hope inside it. Human conflict becomes a strange cultural furnace where destruction is forced to produce meaning. If humanity ever decides to fight for survival rather than conquest, if their collective mind synchronizes under existential threat, the galaxy may face a civilization that does not fear losing battles, because they have learned how to grow stronger inside defeat. Our ships drift silently above the blue world. Below us, human children continue learning history. Somewhere on the surface, soldiers practice strategies they hope will never be used. And inside human music archives, voices still sing about surviving tomorrow. The next observation record will describe what happens when human youth are placed inside controlled death simulations. The results were disturbing. Human military academies are not what the galaxy expects. We call them nurseries of controlled danger. On Earth, young humans willingly walk into environments designed to simulate death. We watch them enter training chambers where air grew thin, gravity pressed bones like invisible mountains, and darkness stretched sensory perception until reality itself became uncertain. Most species train soldiers by removing fear. Humans do something more disturbing. They teach fear to cooperate. The young human cadets were exposed to psychological pressure fields. Simulated enemies moved inside visual projections of battlefield chaos. Noise became weaponized. Silence became threat. Time was distorted inside stress environments. We expected collapse. Statistical models predicted social fragmentation under sustained pressure. But humanity defied prediction. Human cadets began forming social bonds faster when danger increased. It appears human trust is not built in comfort. It is forged in shared suffering. Our anthropological division observed a ritual that disturbed several senior researchers. During exhaustion training, human cadets share food, not because energy conservation requires it, but because emotional synchronization appears to stabilize survival behavior. They eat slowly, they speak quietly, they exchange stories about home. Home is described in human archives as a psychological anchor rather than a geographic location. Humans believe hardship shared between individuals strengthens destiny. This belief has no equivalent in other known species. The most alarming observation emerged during combat simulations. Human cadets did not optimize for personal survival. They optimized for teammate survival. If one cadet was threatened, others diverted mission advantage to protect them. From mathematical warfare theory, this is inefficient. From biological evolution theory, this is self-destructive. But from civilization continuity theory, it is catastrophic to opposing forces. Because species that place group preservation above individual victory do not break under targeted elimination. They continue functioning even when leadership nodes are destroyed. Command hierarchy inside human training is surprisingly flexible. Any cadet can assume tactical leadership within seconds. Communication between cadets often occurs through minimal signals: eye movement, hand gesture, breathing rhythm. We detected synchronization patterns that resembled distributed neural architecture rather than military discipline. The most disturbing observation came during simulated casualty scenarios. When one cadet was injured, others did not panic. They executed mission protocols first, then they returned to help the injured member. This behavior violates conventional survival psychology. Predatory species prioritize immediate threat response. Humans prioritize social survival before tactical completion. Our evolutionary specialists issued a warning. Because humans do not surrender when individually broken, they surrender only when everyone they protect is broken. And humans resist that outcome with unreasonable persistence. Even human children exhibit this trait. In training simulations designed for young cadets, we observed children sharing resources under scarcity pressure. They comforted weaker participants. They refused to continue exercises if companions were left behind. Our cultural analysis suggests humans associate meaning with shared endurance rather than isolated strength. The Deathworld Cadet program does not produce soldiers in the traditional galactic sense. It produces guardians, beings trained to move toward danger when others run away. Our archives classify this behavior as emergent civilization defense instinct. The human species is not evolving toward domination. It is evolving toward protection. And protection, when organized across billions of individuals, becomes a force more difficult to dismantle than conquest. Our observation fleet continues silent orbit. Inside Earth's training academies, young humans still sweat under artificial gravity, breathe fear, and learn how to stand beside those who are afraid. They are not taught how to win every battle. They are taught how to refuse abandoning someone who is losing. The Galactic Council has requested further study, because a civilization that chooses collective survival over individual victory does not need perfect warriors. It needs only determination, and humans possess it in quantities that make mathematical extinction models unstable. The next observation will describe humanity's first intentional communication with the watching stars. We were not ready for the message they sent. The Galactic Archive is not silent. It is filled with the memories of civilizations that once believed themselves eternal. Among those records, one pattern repeats with horrifying consistency. Every species that encountered human Deathworld cadets made the same mistake. They thought human youth represented weakness, because human cadets were still learning. They did not understand that for humanity, learning is not innocence. Learning is adaptation weaponized. Human children survive uncertainty better than many mature alien warriors. While other species require environmental stability to maintain cognitive function, human neural architecture appears to strengthen under unpredictability. The Xylar Dominion harvested young humans from early contact zones.
They believed psychological conditioning could transform human cadets into loyal labor soldiers. The experiment failed. The Xylar archives were later discovered abandoned, their planetary networks drifting without biological operators. The Nebra Collective attempted neural dominance projection. They tried to suppress human emotional autonomy using electromagnetic cognitive resonance fields. Human trainees showed unexpected resilience. They began communicating using almost invisible behavioral signals. A glance, a breath pattern, subtle body posture shifts. The collective command network inside human cadet groups resisted external control. The Torith engineers attempted the final strategy. They isolated human trainees individually, believing solitary confinement would fracture cooperation instincts. Instead, human cadets remembered each other, even when communication was blocked, even when sensory input was restricted. When injured cadets were placed in danger zones, other humans often violated mission rules to retrieve them, not because of tactical advantage, but because abandonment was culturally unacceptable. Our historians found emotional logs inside destroyed human training facilities. Messages recorded by cadets during simulated fatal scenarios often referenced teammates rather than personal survival. The galaxy's predictive warfare models failed repeatedly when applied to humans because humans do not behave as isolated biological agents. They behave as cooperative survival clusters. The narrator expresses a fear that cannot be quantified. It is not fear of human physical strength. Many species surpass humans in muscle density, energy projection, or weapon lethality. The fear is something deeper. Human moral persistence. Humans do not leave wounded companions behind, even when logic demands retreat. Predators hunt the weak. Humans defend them. This behavior destabilizes conventional warfare theory, because most military strategies rely on breaking enemy cohesion by targeting vulnerable members. Human civilization responds differently. Attacking human vulnerability strengthens collective resistance. The observers recorded battlefield simulations where human units became more coordinated after casualty events. This phenomenon violates evolutionary competition theory. Survival instincts should prioritize self-preservation, but human instinct appears to contain a secondary layer, preservation of others. The Galaxy Archive marks humanity with a new classification, not warrior species, not conquest civilization, but protector civilization. Humanity does not train soldiers. Humanity trains guardians, beings who move toward suffering rather than away from it.
The most disturbing realization recorded by the observers was this: humanity does not fear learning. And because of this, human cadets can become something far more dangerous than soldiers trained for battle. They become individuals who will continue fighting even when victory is statistically impossible. Because their objective is not victory. Their objective is survival of those they protect. The destroyed civilizations of the Xylar, Nebra, and Torith archives all ended with the same final warning carved into their data cores. Our fleet continues silent observation above the blue world. Below us, Deathworld Cadets train in shadows of future wars they hope will never happen. And somewhere inside human academies, young voices still practice standing beside the fallen. The galaxy learned one terrifying truth: humanity does not raise warriors. Humanity raises protectors who will not stop fighting until everyone they love is safe. The trial was designed by human instructors, but we watched it because the galaxy wanted to understand how human youth react when survival itself becomes mathematically unlikely. The scenario was classified as catastrophic training simulation. Survival probability was calculated below 2%. For most species, such conditions produce psychological collapse before physical failure. We expected surrender. Instead, the human cadets began thinking, not as individuals, as a distributed survival organism. The simulation environment was intentionally hostile. Artificial enemy forces pursued cadets through terrain designed to limit mobility. Energy barriers closed escape corridors. Acoustic pressure waves simulated planetary siege conditions. Then something unexpected occurred. Human cadets started using destruction as defense. They triggered environmental collapse mechanisms inside the simulation zone. Rock formations were destabilized. Structural supports were weaponized. The pursuing forces were buried under controlled terrain failure zones. Human strategy does not always avoid destruction. Sometimes it redirects destruction toward threat sources. Communication between cadets accelerated dramatically. We recorded signal exchanges occurring faster than conscious speech. Short commands. Minimal vocabulary. Maximum meaning. Leadership inside human groups was fluid. There was no permanent commander. Any cadet could assume tactical control when situational advantage required it. Decision authority was distributed. It was terrifyingly efficient. When one cadet simulated death during combat phase,
Others did not pause mission execution. There was no emotional breakdown. Instead, surviving cadets processed casualty data as environmental information. Human training doctrine appears to treat death as a transformation event rather than a termination event. The body stops moving, but tactical knowledge continues influencing group behavior. We attempted to model human psychological response curves. Our models failed.
Because human groups do not follow individual grief reaction timelines during operational stress, they delay emotional processing until survival tasks are completed. The cadets finished the simulation. Against probability expectation, they achieved objective success. Then something deeply human occurred. They did not celebrate victory. They scanned group members for injuries. Those who were hurt were helped to resting zones. Food and water were shared. Conversation was minimal. Silence functioned as collective recovery protocol. Our alien narrator experienced internal conflict during observation. Fear was present, because humans demonstrated operational capability beyond standard warfare models. Respect was also present, because human behavior revealed ethical cohesion rarely observed in galactic history. The most disturbing realization emerged after the exercise ended. Human cadets did not appear exhausted by survival pressure. They appeared emotionally stabilized by surviving together. Our xenopsychology division proposed a dangerous conclusion. Humanity may derive psychological strength from collective endurance under danger. If true, then increasing pressure may not weaken humans, it may strengthen their unity. The fleet commander recorded a private note inside the observation archive. The cadets left the simulation chamber quietly. Some carried injured companions, others carried equipment. None spoke about the difficulty of the trial. Human culture does not measure training success by how easily a battle is won. It measures success by how many companions remain alive when the battle ends. The next observation will describe humanity's first message sent knowingly toward the watching stars. We were not prepared for the meaning behind their mathematics. First contact was not violent. That was the most terrifying part. Our observation fleet detected a signal originating from human diplomatic channels. The transmission was not military. It was not a warning. It was not a declaration of dominance. It was mathematics shaped like poetry. Human scientists used prime number resonance patterns layered inside harmonic frequency modulation. The translation archive rendered the message in universal semantic notation. For the first time in recorded cosmic memory, I felt vulnerability. Our civilization has existed across epochs where stars were still learning nuclear stability. Fear was something we cataloged, not experienced. But the human message carried an emotional weight that statistical translation could not remove. It was not a threat. It was awareness. Humans were not ignorant of our presence. They had known for an unknown period of time. They chose silence. Human diplomatic representatives approached communication orbit platforms slowly. Their voices were soft, deliberate, measured. They explained humanity's intention. Humanity does not desire galactic conquest.
Their civilization seeks survival, cultural continuity, and preservation of biological diversity. But they spoke one sentence that echoed inside every observer archive processor. The meaning was not aggression. It was conditional defense doctrine. The observers realized something unprecedented. Humanity had been aware of surveillance networks long before first diplomatic contact. They chose patience, not because they were incapable of action, but because they were learning, studying galactic behavior patterns. Humanity was observing the observers. This realization generated emotional instability signals inside several senior research minds of our fleet, because civilizations that know they are watched often react in predictable ways. Fear, aggression, submission. Humanity reacted differently. They waited, like predators who allow prey to reveal migration patterns, or perhaps like guardians learning the identity of future allies. During diplomatic exchange, human ambassadors spoke calmly. They emphasized that humanity does not seek expansion through force. Human technology will not be used to subjugate other species, but human society will not tolerate extinction-level threats against any living world. Humanity is not positioning itself as ruler of the galaxy. They are positioning themselves as defender of biological existence. The most unsettling detail was discovered after decoding secondary layers inside the mathematical poetry transmission. Hidden within prime frequency harmonics was another message, directed not at our political council, but at our psychological observers. We did not respond immediately, because our civilization had never experienced communication that addressed emotional state without hostility. Humanity appeared to understand that watching civilizations may be afraid of what they see. The human diplomats ended the transmission with another statement. Our archive records show that at this moment, several members of the observation fleet experienced something unknown to us before. Not fear alone, not respect alone, but a contradiction of both. The galaxy had encountered many dominant species, but humanity was the first civilization that acknowledged being watched without attempting immediate domination. Humanity did not attack. Humanity did not retreat. Humanity waited, studied, spoke softly, and prepared quietly.
The fleet observation summary ends with one annotation from the narrator. Humanity may not fear the stars, but the stars are beginning to fear humanity. Not because humans are violent, but because humans understand that survival and protection can become the same instinct when civilization reaches maturity. The next record will describe what happens when the Galactic Council debates humanity's existence, and whether the children of the Deathworld should be allowed to grow. The Galactic Council Assembly was convened beneath artificial starlight.
The debate concerning humanity lasted longer than any previous civilization assessment. Some species demanded preemptive extinction protocols. They argued that a species capable of learning under pressure could become unstoppable if allowed to mature. Others spoke in cautious defense of humanity. They presented evidence that human civilization contributes to regional cosmic stability. Human behavior was analyzed beyond military capability. Civilian patterns were studied. What we observed disturbed many council researchers. Humanity rebuilds culture after destruction. They do not only reconstruct infrastructure, they reconstruct meaning. When human cities fall, new cities grow upon the remains. Where war burned land, humans plant forests. Their environmental restoration programs are not purely economic, they are philosophical. Human children are taught something unusual. Survival alone is not victory. A human life preserved through destruction is considered incomplete unless future life is also preserved. Humans treat peace as an active construction rather than absence of war. They maintain agricultural zones even during technological expansion. They protect wildlife ecosystems alongside industrial development. Several galactic historians noted that humanity appears emotionally strengthened after cooperative reconstruction. When humans work together after disaster, their technological and scientific advancement rates increase. This phenomenon has no equivalent among other known species. Predatory civilizations usually weaken under collective emotional burden. Humanity becomes stronger. The Galactic Council eventually reached a consensus of cautious observation. Humanity was not classified as immediate existential threat, but humanity was also not classified as harmless. The official designation assigned was unsettling. Meaning, humanity may prevent galactic chaos. Meaning also, humanity may become dominant if threatened. Respect toward humans began growing inside several member species, but that respect carried a shadow. Because humans possess a trait that terrifies long-lived civilizations. They improve when cooperating. Many species increase individual power through competition. Human civilization increases systemic power through social alignment. Their scientific institutions share discoveries openly. Their medical knowledge spreads across global networks. Their military doctrine emphasizes unit preservation. Their cultural art reflects survival memory rather than conquest glory. We observed human post-war construction rituals. Cities were rebuilt, but sometimes humans left ruins partially visible, not as symbols of victory, but as reminders. Human children were taken to forests planted after war zones. They were told that peace is something humanity must continue protecting, not something guaranteed. Galactic psychological analysts began reporting an unusual sensation during human observation: dread. Not because humans displayed hostility, but because humans grow stronger when they cooperate under existential pressure. If humanity faces a threat that targets their collective survival network, historical data suggests they respond with accelerated innovation, technology, medicine, defense coordination, cultural unity. Our military theorists expressed concern. Species that become stronger when united are difficult to fracture through conventional strategy. The Council archives now contain a warning statement. Because humanity appears capable of transforming fear into cooperative determination, humanity's civilization continues expanding knowledge, building art, planting forests, teaching children that survival is not the highest goal. The highest goal is life that survives fear. Observation fleets remain stationed at distant orbit resonance zones, watching, waiting, respecting, and fearing slightly, because the galaxy is beginning to understand that humanity is not evolving toward conquest. Humanity is evolving towards something far more difficult to counter, a civilization that will defend existence itself. The next record will describe the nightmare the galaxy faces if humanity ever decides to fight not for victory, but for the survival of everything they love. The final observation is not written in fear, it is written in understanding. Across the galactic dark, civilizations have risen and fallen like temporary stars inside the infinite night. Some were stronger than humans, some were older, some could bend gravity fields like water, some could survive environments where human biology would collapse within minutes. But humanity was different. Humanity was not the strongest species, yet humanity was the species most willing to protect what was weaker than itself.
This is the variable that destabilizes extinction models. Humanity does not measure civilization success only by technological supremacy. They measure it by the survival of others. If the galaxy ever falls into existential darkness, if cosmic catastrophe threatens biological existence itself, the observers predict one certainty: humans will fight it. Not for territory, not for dominance, but for life. Human archives contain a philosophical statement discovered during our final deep scan of their historical databases. It was written anonymously inside cultural memory storage. The meaning of this sentence is not biological. It is psychological warfare against inevitability. Humanity appears to believe that persistence can reshape even termination probability. Our civilization's Grand Archive Committee prepared the final classification report. Humanity is not categorized as a Deathworld species. This is a common misunderstanding among younger galactic researchers. Humanity is something more unsettling. Humanity is a civilization that teaches death fear, because humans do not seek to defeat death through immortality alone. They seek to make death uncertain.
To force extinction itself to pause and reconsider. The observation fleet prepares to leave orbit. Not because study is complete, but because continued watching may alter our own cultural stability. The blue planet remains below us, breathing, patient, waiting. Inside human cities, children continue learning. They learn mathematics. They learn music. They learn how to stand beside someone who is afraid. Our final transmission archive contains the concluding statement from the observer narrator. If the galaxy ever encounters darkness older than stars, there is only one civilization that may stand against it. Not because humanity is perfect, not because humanity is invincible, but because humanity protects weakness with unreasonable determination. And civilizations that refuse to abandon the vulnerable are very difficult to erase. The fleet disengages observation resonance, yet our databases will keep one record open: humanity, the species that does not fear extinction, the species that turns survival into hope, and the hope that survives fear terrifies the stars.